So it is time for my review of The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. So for anybody that doesn't know, The Hobbit is... I don't even know how to describe it. The Hobbit is a fantasy book about a young thing. What are they called? Hobbits. The Hobbit is a fantasy book, and it is a prequel to The Lord of the Rings, and it follows a hobbit called Bilbo Baggins as he is forced, pretty much, to go on an epic journey with a group of dwarves. And that's pretty much all I can tell you about it without getting into the logistics that I don't fully understand. So, it's very good. It's high fantasy. This was my first ever reach into high fantasy, and, you know, it was okay. Didn't love it, but the quality of the book was very good. I really enjoyed it. It was a 5-star prediction. Didn't give it 5 stars. I actually gave it 3 stars out of the 5, which is a shame, but very good considering the fact that I'm not a fan of high fantasy, as it turns out. So I decided, considering how popular this book actually is, I should probably do a review on it. So here goes. So I'm going to do it as usual, 3 pros, 3 cons, and give my reviews on that. So, my first con of the book is that it felt as though while they was on this quest, every time they got into a sticky situation, Gandalf the Wizard just appeared out of nowhere and rescued them. And that's all well and good. Obviously, I want my characters to be rescued. I don't want them to be dying. Well, I do. I love a good death, but I don't want them to be dying willy-nilly. But it just felt like Gandalf always swept in and rescued them, and it took away a lot of fear, because every time they got into a sticky situation, I wasn't thinking, oh no, this person could die. I was thinking, it's fine, Gandalf will save them. And he did, for the most part. I don't think he actually did towards the end. I think they actually had to struggle towards the end. But for the start of the book, he was just there rescuing them every time they got into a tricky situation. And I wasn't a big fan of that, because it just became a bit predictable. I don't really know what else to say about it. It was just annoying that every time they got into trouble, Gandalf was there to save them. And it felt like, well, why? If Gandalf's there to save them and get them out of all of these issues and situations, why are they even going on this journey? Why are they not just making Gandalf do it, considering he's always there? Like, just logic, really. But my first pro of the book was that it was such an easy read. There was no issue in the way it was written. I absolutely loved it. And my next 2 pros are actually examples of how much of an easy read and good, well-written book it was. But it was such an easy read. I didn't read it once and think, I'm getting a bit bored, or I'm getting a bit tired of this, or I'm not enjoying it, or I'm not understanding it. I loved every minute of reading the book. There was just a lot of issues with it. Like, it wasn't really my thing, but I really did enjoy it because of how well it was written. So, yeah. My second con of the book is that it was the quest trope. Now, I'm alright with the quest. I don't mind a quest that much. I've read a few books that have had a similar sort of quest thing, and I'm okay with them. But I'm really not a lover of the quest trope. I don't mind them, but I don't love them, and it's just a similar pattern that it follows that gets a bit repetitive and boring, and that is what happened. They go to a new place, they encounter issues, they get saved from the issues, they go on to a new place. And then when they're at the new place, they have issues, they get saved from the issues, they move on to the next place. And it's just constantly repeating itself over and over again on this quest every time they enter a new area or a new zone or a new issue, up until the final thing. And I'm not a fan of the quest trope, because I think it does get predictable and it gets boring. The only way that I'm actually a fan of it is if it changed up a bit, if it was different. And I can't really give you an example of how it was different, but if in certain places characters were killed off or things like that, it was just a case of we go here, oh no, we're in trouble. Oh yay, Gandalf saved us. Let's go, run, run, run. Oh, we're in trouble. Oh no, Gandalf saved us, it's fine. And it was just like on and on and on and on, and I just, eventually it just got a bit boring. So, not a big fan of the quest trope, as it turns out. Now, my second pro is Bilbo's character. He took on the reluctant hero role, and I loved it. I was living for it. because he just didn't want to be there, and I could not relate more. He was such a relatable character. Like, there was times where he was in such trouble and he was in issues, and he was just sat there like, I have a nice home. Why am I not at home? Why am I here? Why am I not at home? And I was just like, yeah, why are you there, good man? Why? And I loved his attitude. Like, everything was just an inconvenience for him. And it was just funny because he has that relatable quality of the fact that he's in this situation and he just sits there and thinks, how the hell did I get into this situation? Like, he just thinks, I could be at home right now. Why am I here? And then everything conveniences him. Like, there was a part, and I can't fully remember it, but I think it was, there is something they need on the other side of the river. And he's like, of course it's on the other side. Why couldn't it have been this side? No. And he has that, it's just typical. He has that attitude about him, and I loved it because it is so relatable to a lot of people. It's how I'd be on a quest. I'd be sitting there thinking, why am I not at home? Who convinced me to come here? That'd be my reaction. And then when I was out, and that person, every time I go out to like social events, and I just think, I could easily be at home. Why am I not at home? This is such an inconvenience to my life. And it's just the life of an introvert. Bilbo's an introvert, isn't he? And he doesn't like being out with people. And it is just such a relatable character. It made me laugh because of how relatable it was and how much I could see myself in that character. So, well done for that. I really enjoyed it. Now, my last con. It's one that I'm very strongly passionate about because I hate it. I've never liked it. I don't think I've ever seen it done well. When there is songs, I hate songs. When there are songs in a book, it's like this, they make up songs. But even in thrillers, they put songs in like, oh, I saw this character singing this song, and then they put lyrics to the song, and I'm like, well, I don't know that song. I don't care what the lyrics are. And they make up songs, and it's quite interesting, and I think it's quite a big thing in fantasy. They kind of make up songs, and you can kind of sing them and join in with that. But in my head, all I'm thinking is, I don't know that song. I don't know them words. Great, you've given me the words. I still don't know the tune to that song. So in my head, I'm now thinking, so do I have to then make up a tune? Because that's just a lot of effort I'm not willing to give. It's just unnecessary. I hate when they put songs in books because it's not needed. It's not necessary, it's not needed. Why? What even is the point? It's frustrating. I listened to this partially on audiobook and it got to the point in the song, and the guy that was doing the audiobook just kind of did a like he had no idea what he was doing either, and it was just so painful to listen to, and it's painful to read, and I'm not a fan of it. I ain't a fan. I need to cool it with that because I feel very strongly about it. It's very frustrating. Okay, my last pro is another example of why it's so good, the writing, is that it's really funny. It's really comedic. Like, at the very start of the book, when all of the dwarves start arriving at Bilbo's house, he just sits there and he's like, the hell are you doing in my house? And then there's a knock at the door and he runs to the door, and then someone else pops in and he's like, what the hell are you doing in my house? And then it just keeps happening, and every time it happens he just gets more and more flustered of like, right, you're eating my food, looks like I'm not going to get any food, oh, someone else is at the door, and he just gets so panicked and stressed and worked up. And again, it was so relatable, but it's so funny to read. And then later on, is it Bjorn, is that his name? Bjorn? When they're at Bjorn's house and they don't want to overwhelm him by the dwarves showing up and Bilbo and Gandalf, so Gandalf and Bilbo go in to meet Bjorn, and then the dwarves start appearing in twos, just in pairs of two. Just every 5 minutes another one rocks up, or another pair rocks up, should I say. And Bjorn's just sat there like, okay, that's more than you originally said. And Gandalf's like, oh yes, well I said a dozen. And he's like, do you call a dozen 10? Oh no, here are 2 more. That's my 12 now. And that's how he does it, and it's just so funny that the numbers keep building up, and the way Gandalf says his story and adding two people at a time, always, it was just so funny to read, and it was hilarious to just see the reaction. And I don't think I laughed as much in a book as I did in that moment. It was so good. And I think that's it. That's my pros and cons. Probably not the best review in the world. Overall, I really liked the book. There was just some things that I didn't like. I'm not a fan of the quest trope. I'm not a fan of the fact that a hero always comes in and saves the day that's not part of the original thing. So I'm like, okay, that's a bit predictable. And I hate the songs. Why are the songs there? But the style of writing on this book was amazing. I originally thought with all of my issues it could have been like a 2-star, but the style of writing on this book, I could not have given it a 2-star. I actually considered bumping it up to 4-star just for the style of writing, but I didn't think that was possible because it had a very similar number of issues to good points, and I felt like 3-star was where it belonged in my opinion. But yeah, loved the writing style. It was so comedic and so easy to read, and it just flew well. It was great. I really was a big fan. Love the book. It's great. I'm gonna have to read The Lord of the Rings at some point because I wanted to read all 4 of them together, and I did this one kind of on a whim. And now I'm like, crap, now I've got to read the rest. So I'll do The Lord of the Rings at some point. But for now, that is it from me. I hope the review made sense. I hope you understood what I was saying. I hope it has given you an idea of whether you want to read the book or not if you haven't yet. And if you have, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you think of the points I've made and let's discuss them. So that is all from me. Thank you all for watching. I post every Monday, Wednesday and Saturday. So until next time, see you later.